Good morning and thank you, Chairperson. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to all distinguished participants. My name is Muhammad Fadzly Zakaria from the School of Business Management, University Utara, Malaysia. I am pleased to present our conceptual paper entitled, Shaping ESG Decision-Making Competencies, the Mediating Role of Sustainability Awareness Among Future Business Leaders. Over the past decade, there has been a fundamental shift in how organizations are evaluated. Traditionally, firms focused mainly on maximizing profits and shareholder value. However, in today's environment, stakeholders, including investors, regulators, consumers, employees, and society at large, expect businesses to demonstrate responsible and sustainable practices. Consequently, environmental, social, and governance, or ESG, considerations have emerged as important criteria for measuring organizational performance and long-term value creation. This shift has transformed the competencies expected from managers and future leaders. Businesses now require graduates who are capable of balancing economic objectives with environmental stewardship, social responsibility, and good governance. Therefore, higher education institutions and business schools are under increasing pressure to produce what we may call ESG-ready graduates. Graduates who are capable of making responsible and sustainable decisions in increasingly complex environments. Despite the increasing integration of ethics and sustainability topics within business curricula, an important challenge still exists. Students may learn ethical theories and principles in classrooms, but possessing ethical knowledge does not necessarily guarantee that they can translate that knowledge into practical ESG-related decisions. This reflects what many scholars refer to as the gap between knowing what is right and doing what is right. Although previous studies have examined ethics education, ethical reasoning, and sustainability separately, limited empirical evidence explains how these factors contribute to the development of ESG decision-making competencies. More importantly, the mechanism through which ethical competencies are transformed into ESG-oriented decision-making remains unclear. Therefore, our study seeks to answer the following question: how can ethical learning be translated into ESG competencies among future business leaders? This slide presents the structural framework of the study, which consists of two independent variables, one mediating variable, and one dependent variable. The first independent variable is business ethics education, which refers to the integration of ethical principles and responsible business practices into the curriculum. The second independent variable is ethical reasoning, which represents an individual's ability to evaluate ethical dilemmas and make principled judgments. We propose sustainability awareness as the mediating variable, acting as the cognitive bridge that translates ethical knowledge into practical sustainability thinking. Finally, the dependent variable is ESG decision-making competencies, which refers to the ability to integrate environmental, social, and governance considerations into managerial decisions. Figure 1 presents the theoretical framework of this study. Business ethics education and ethical reasoning are proposed as the key antecedents influencing students' sustainability awareness, represented by H1 and H2. Sustainability awareness is then expected to positively enhance ESG decision-making competencies, as indicated by H3. In addition, H4 and H5 examine the direct effects of business ethics education and ethical reasoning on ESG decision-making competencies. Overall, the framework suggests that ethics education and ethical reasoning not only strengthen sustainability awareness but also directly and indirectly contribute to the development of ESG decision-making competencies. In addressing this issue, we propose sustainability awareness as the missing link or cognitive bridge. Sustainability awareness refers to an individual's understanding of the interrelationships among environmental, social, and economic dimensions of sustainable development. Individuals with high sustainability awareness are able to appreciate the broader consequences of business decisions, think beyond short-term profits, and adopt a more stakeholder-oriented perspective. In other words, sustainability awareness enables individuals to transform ethical values into sustainable actions. For example, when facing a managerial decision, an individual with strong sustainability awareness will not only ask, "Is this profitable?" but also ask, "What are the social consequences? What are the environmental implications? And how will this affect stakeholders in the long run?" Therefore, sustainability awareness serves as a mechanism through which ethical competencies can be translated into ESG-oriented decision-making. This study is grounded in two complementary theories. The first is moral development theory, proposed by Lawrence Kohlberg. According to this theory, individuals progress through increasingly sophisticated stages of moral reasoning. Rather than making decisions based solely on self-interest, individuals develop the ability to evaluate ethical issues according to universal moral principles. Within the context of this study, business ethics education and ethical reasoning help strengthen moral cognition and ethical judgment. The second theory is stakeholder theory, introduced by Freeman. Stakeholder theory argues that organizations should create value not only for shareholders but also for multiple stakeholders, including employees, customers, communities, regulators, and even the natural environment. Based on the identified research gap, this study has 5 objectives. First, we seek to determine whether business ethics education influences sustainability awareness. Second, we examine the effect of ethical reasoning on sustainability awareness. Third, we investigate whether sustainability awareness contributes to ESG decision-making competencies. Finally, we examine the mediating role of sustainability awareness in explaining how business ethics education and ethical reasoning are translated into ESG competencies. Collectively, these objectives enable us to understand not only whether these relationships exist, but also how ethical competencies contribute to the formation of ESG-oriented decision-making capabilities. Based on the literature and theoretical foundations, we propose 5 hypotheses. First, business ethics education is expected to positively influence sustainability awareness. This is because exposure to ethics courses, case studies, and ethical discussions encourages students to appreciate sustainability and stakeholder responsibilities. Second, ethical reasoning is expected to positively affect sustainability awareness. Individuals with stronger ethical reasoning are more likely to evaluate long-term consequences and recognize broader social and environmental impacts. Third, sustainability awareness is expected to positively influence ESG decision-making competencies. Individuals who are more aware of sustainability issues are more capable of integrating environmental, social, and governance considerations into managerial decisions. Finally, sustainability awareness is proposed as the mediating mechanism that explains how ethical learning and ethical reasoning are translated into ESG-oriented competencies. Thus, our structural model follows the pathway: business ethics education and ethical reasoning, right-pointing arrow; sustainability awareness, right-pointing arrow; ESG decision-making competencies. This study adopts a quantitative approach based on the positivist paradigm. A cross-sectional survey design is employed because the study aims to empirically examine relationships among latent variables. The target respondents are third-year business students at University Utara, Malaysia. Third-year students are chosen because they have already completed courses related to management ethics and corporate social responsibility, providing sufficient exposure to ethics and sustainability concepts. Purposive sampling with quota controls will be utilized to ensure respondents meet the required criteria and are representative of the population. For this study, we target approximately 500 respondents to ensure adequate statistical power and robust parameter estimation. Data analysis will be conducted using SMART PLS4 and partial least squares structural equation modeling, or PLS-SEM. The analysis consists of 2 stages. First, we will evaluate the measurement model by assessing reliability and validity through Cronbach's alpha, composite reliability, avenue, and discriminant validity. Second, we will evaluate the structural model by examining path coefficients, R-square values, effect sizes, and mediation effects through bootstrapping procedures. Gender and prior CSR exposure will also be included as control variables to improve the robustness of the model. To ensure measurement validity and reliability, all constructs will be measured using established scales adapted from previous studies. Business ethics education will be measured based on Tormo, Carbo and colleagues, focusing on students' exposure to ethics education and responsible management principles. Ethical reasoning will be adapted from Rest and colleagues, emphasizing moral evaluation and ethical dilemma assessment. Sustainability awareness will be measured using Week and colleagues' sustainability competency framework. Finally, ESG decision-making competencies will be measured based on Trevisan and colleagues, focusing on students' ability and confidence to integrate ESG considerations into managerial decisions. Using validated instruments helps enhance the reliability and credibility of the study. This study contributes in three important ways. First, theoretically, it integrates moral development theory and stakeholder theory to explain how ethical competencies are translated into ESG decision-making competencies through sustainability awareness. Second, from a practical perspective, the findings may provide useful insights for universities and educators in redesigning business curricula. Ethics and sustainability should not be taught as isolated topics but integrated across courses to cultivate ESG-ready graduates. Third, from a policy perspective, this study supports the Ministry of Higher Education and the Malaysian Qualifications Agency in strengthening education for sustainable development and ESG-related competencies. Furthermore, the study aligns with national aspirations such as Shared Prosperity Vision 2030, the 12th Malaysia Plan, and the Sustainable Development Goals. In conclusion, ESG competency development has become increasingly important in preparing future leaders for sustainability challenges. This study proposes that business ethics education and ethical reasoning influence ESG decision-making competencies through sustainability awareness, thereby providing a theoretical explanation for how ethical learning can be translated into responsible managerial behavior. We hope that this framework contributes to the literature on responsible management education and provides useful insights for higher education institutions in producing future leaders who are ethically grounded, sustainability-oriented, and ESG-ready. Thank you very much for your attention, and I welcome any questions, comments, and suggestions.